Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. OpenAI has launched Codex, a new AI-powered coding assistant integrated into ChatGPT. Codex is currently available to ChatGPT Pro Enterprise and Team subscribers with plans to expand access to Plus and EDU users soon. Codex is designed to help developers by automating tasks such as writing code, fixing bugs, and running tests. It operates within a secure sandboxed environment and is powered by Codex 1, a specialized version of OpenAI's O3 model optimized for software engineering. The tool aims to enhance productivity by allowing developers to interact with it using natural language prompts, making programming more accessible and efficient. OpenAI envisions Codex evolving into a fully autonomous coding assistant, reinforcing its commitment to advancing AI-assisted software development. Now you can listen to a podcast about Codex created by Google Notebook LM based on the OpenAI's blog post about Codex release.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping right into something pretty big from OpenAI. They've announced a new tool called Codex.
That's right. We're looking at their official announcement here, their blog post. They're calling it a cloud-based software engineering agent.
Sounds fancy.
It does. Okay, so let's try and unpack that. Our mission today is really to understand what Codex actually is, what it can do, and, why it matters for people, but keeping it straightforward, no getting bogged down in super technical.
Exactly. And this isn't just theory. Codex is actually rolling out now to ChatGPT users. If you've got
Right.
Pro, Team, or Enterprise, you might already see it.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, and they're saying Plus and EDU users are getting it soon too.
So it's becoming widely available. Let's start at the beginning then. What is Codex, fundamentally, this software engineering agent?
Okay, so think of it like this. It's powered by a model they call Codex 1. Now, you might know OpenAI's O3 model that's like their really smart general AI.
Right. Codex 1 is like a version of O3 that's been specifically intensely trained just on software engineering stuff.
Ah, specialized.
Exactly. And how it learned is interesting. They use reinforcement learning. Basically, it learned by trying out tons and tons of real-world coding tasks and getting feedback.
Reinforcement learning.
Yeah.
So it kind of learned by doing, trial and error, getting better.
Pretty much, yeah. The whole point was to make something that doesn't just write code that works, but writes code that, looks like a human wrote it, follows the style.
Readable, maintainable code.
Right. And it's meant to follow instructions very precisely. And this is key. It can actually test its own code as it goes, iteratively checking itself.
That iterative testing sounds incredibly useful. So, okay, I'm a developer, I have access. How do I actually use it? Where does it show up?
It's integrated right into the ChatGPT interface you might already be using. In the sidebar, you'll see options like code for starting a new task.
Just type in what you need.
Yeah, describe the task. Or if you want to ask about code you already have, like in a project, you use the ask function.
Okay, seems simple enough. What happens behind the scenes when I give it a task, say, using code?
Right. This is where it gets clever. Each task gets its own separate, secure little workspace in the cloud. They call it a cloud sandbox environment.
Sandbox. So it's contained.
Totally contained and isolated. And crucially, it automatically gets loaded up with your project's code from, say, your repository.
Ah, so it has context. It knows my project.
Exactly. It's not just guessing in the dark. This sandboxing is a big deal for, managing the risks of AI mess.
That makes a lot of sense. So within this safe sandbox, what can it actually do? Can it change files?
Oh, yeah. It can read your files, it can edit them, and importantly, it can run the kind of tools developers rely on.
Like what?
Things like test harnesses tools that run your automated text, linters, which check for code style and potential problems, even type checkers.
Wow, okay. So it can run the same checks I would normally run myself.
Exactly. It helps ensure the code it produces actually meets the project's standards and works.
How long does this usually take if I give it a task?
OpenAI says typically between, say, 1 minute and maybe 30 minutes. Depends on the complexity, obviously.
Okay, that's reasonable.
And
can I see what it's doing?
Yep, you get real-time progress monitoring. You can sort of watch it work.
That's good. Transparency.
Yeah.
So when it's finished, does it just commit the code straight into my project?
No, definitely not automatically. That would be risky. It saves the changes within its own sandbox first,
Right.
and then it gives you what they call verifiable evidence. This means links to the terminal logs showing the commands it ran, the output, the test results, everything.
So you get proof of what it did and whether it worked. That feels important for trust.
Absolutely. Transparency is key here. You see the steps, you see the results.
Okay, so I have the code changes and the evidence. What are my options then?
You're in control. You review everything. You can look at the code diffs. You can ask Codex to revise things if it's not quite right.
Ask for changes.
Yeah, iterate with it a bit. Or, if you're happy, you can open a pull request directly from there into your main code base, like on GitHub. Or you could just pull the changes down and integrate them locally.
So human review is always the final step.
Always. It's automation assistance, not full replacement. You're still the gatekeeper.
Got it. You mentioned earlier you can configure the environment. How does that work?
Yeah, you can tweak the sandbox environment so it closely mirrors your actual development setup. The specific versions of tools, libraries, that sort of makes the testing more reliable.
Okay. And what about these agents.md files? Sounds like instructions.
That's exactly what they are. Think of it like a little cheat sheet or manual for Codex living inside your project repository.
What kind of stuff goes in there?
You can tell it how the project is laid out, maybe specific commands to run for testing that are unique to your project, or important coding standards it needs to follow.
So you can really tailor its behavior to your team's way of working.
Precisely. It's about giving the AI more explicit guidance, embedding your team's best practice.
But OpenAI also said it performs well even without these files.
Yeah, they did. They're testing both on standard benchmarks like SysW Bench Verified and their own internal tests, shows Codex 1 is pretty capable even without detailed instructions.
So it has a good general understanding anyway.
Oh, it seems so. They highlighted its performance, especially noting it was tested with a really large context window, like a big memory 190K token. That helps it understand big, complex.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Safety and trust. Letting AI write code. It makes sense people might be a bit nervous. What's OpenAI saying about this?
It's a huge focus, definitely. They're launching this as a research proof, partly for that reason to learn and improve safety. That verifiability we talked about, the logs, the test results, that's a big part of building trust.
Seeing is believing, kind of.
Right. And it's designed to tell you if it's uncertain about something or if tests fail. It won't just, blindly push broken code.
It communicates problems.
Yeah, it flags issues. But again, OpenAI stresses you, the developer, still need to review and validate everything. Manual oversight is crucial.
Human in the loop, always. What about malicious use? Could someone try to get it to write malware or something?
That's obviously a major concern. They say they've specifically trained it to refuse harmful requests like that. They've also beefed up their safety policies and done extensive evaluations. There's even a published addendum to their O3 system card about these safety measures.
Good to know they're actively working on preventing misuse. And the sandbox itself, how secure is that?
It's designed to be pretty locked down. As we said, it's isolated. Critically, while it's working on a task, it has no internet access.
Not at all.
Nope. It can only interact with the code you provided from your repository and any standard pre-approved dependents. It can't just reach out to random websites or APIs.
Okay, that severely limits the potential attack surface. Sounds like they've put serious thought into security.
Seems so.
Right.
It's a layered approach, training, transparency, isolation.
Has they shared how people are actually using it so far? Any early examples?
Yeah, their own teams at OpenAI are using it quite a bit for things like refactoring code, cleaning it up without changing what it does, renaming variables consistently across a project, writing unit tests.
The kind of necessary but maybe tedious tasks.
Exactly. Also scaffolding out new features, fixing bugs, even drafting documentation. It frees up their engineers for harder problems.
Makes sense. What about companies outside OpenAI? Any feedback from them?
They've had some external testers giving it a spin. Cisco, for instance, is exploring how it can help them prototype ideas faster.
Okay.
Temporal, a company in the workflow orchestration space, is using it to speed up development, debugging, testing, refactoring, even offloading background tasks. They mentioned it helps with both speed and reducing context switching for their engineers.
Reducing context switching is huge for productivity. Anyone else?
Yeah. Superhuman, the email client folks. They're using it for repetitive tasks, improving test coverage, fixing integration bugs. They even said it lets their product managers make small code changes sometimes, freeing up engineers.
Interesting. Empowering non-engineers a bit.
And Kodiak, working on self-driving trucks, uses it for writing debugging tools, boosting test coverage, refactoring, and even just as a tool to quickly understand unfamiliar parts of their large code.
So quite a range of uses already emerging. Any advice from these early users on how to get the most out of it?
A couple of things came up. One was breaking down big tasks into smaller, well-defined chunks. You can even assign multiple small tasks to different agents simultaneously.
Parallel processing with AI agents.
Sort of, yeah. And also just experimenting with how you phrase your requests, your prompts to see what works best with it all.
Right, prompt engineering is always key with these models. Now, they also mention updates to something called the Codex CLI. What's the CLI?
CLI just stands for Command Line Interface. It's basically a way for developers to interact with tools using text commands in their terminal, that black screen with text you sometimes see.
Okay, the classic coding interface.
Exactly. The Codex CLI is a lightweight open source tool that brings Codex capabilities directly into that terminal environment for quick coding help.
And what's new with it?
They've released a smaller, faster version of the Codex model just for the CLI. It's called Codex Mini Latest, optimized for quick Q&A and edits right there in the terminal.
Faster is good for CLI use. Anything else?
Yeah, a big usability improvement. Instead of messing around with API keys manually, you can now just sign in with your normal ChatGPT account.
Well, that's much easier.
Definitely. It handles the API key stuff automatically. And they're even giving Plus and Pro users who sign in some free API credits to try it out for the first 30 days. Lowers the barrier to entry significantly.
That's a smart move to get people using it. Okay, let's talk availability and cost. We know who's getting it now. What's the plan long term?
So, as we said, rolling out now globally to Pro, Team, Enterprise, Plus, and eDo soon. Initially, access within ChatGPT is quite generous, basically no extra cost for a while.
Let people try it out.
Exactly. Then, after that initial period, they'll introduce usage limits, and you'll have options to pay for more if you need it flexible pricing. For the API usage, like with that new CLI model, they have specific pricing per token, with discounts if...
So eventually, it becomes a paid feature or requires credits. What about limitations? Things it can't do yet?
Well, it's still labeled a research preview, so yeah, limitations exist. It can't process images right now, which could be useful for front-end web development, for example.
Right, visual stuff.
Also, you can't really interrupt it mid-task to give feedback or change direction. It sort of runs its course once started. And because it's delegating to a cloud agent, it's inherently asynchronous. It takes a bit longer than if you just type the code yourself, so it might shift how you work on some.
Okay, good to keep those in mind. So looking ahead, what's the big picture here? OpenAI's vision for
the vision seems to be a future where developers offload more and more of the routine, repetitive coding work to AI agent Codex.
freeing up humans for the creative architectural thinking.
That's the idea. Boosting overall productivity significantly. They also talk about the lines blurring between real-time AI coding partners, like Copilot maybe, and these task delegation aids, a more unified workflow across different...
The seamless integration of AI help. Did they hint at future features?
Yeah, things like more interactivity, being able to guide the agent during it, collaborating with the AI on the actual strategy for solving a problem, getting proactive updates from, and deeper integrations with tools developers already use, like Jira for issue, or Jenkins for builds, that sort of.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty transformative potential for software engineering productivity.
It really does. It could empower individual developers, smaller teams to tackle much bigger.
Okay, let's try and wrap this up. If you take one thing away from this deep dive on Codex, what should it be?
I'd say the main thing is, Codex is OpenAI's new specialized AI tool built into ChatGPT, designed specifically to help software developers write, test, and manage code more effectively.
And the potential impact. Why should you care?
Well, the potential is pretty huge for saving time, cutting down on that constant mental context switching developers do, and generally speeding up the whole process of building software.
So definitely something to think about, whether you're a developer or just interested in how technology is made. How might this change things for you?
And that leads to maybe a final thought for you to chew on. As these AI agents become more capable, how do you think they'll reshape how software teams actually work together? How will collaboration and the division of labor change? It's a big question.
Definitely something to ponder. And hey, for those of you listening who are interested in diving deeper into AI, maybe learning more, we've got a special offer. You can get a discount on AI courses over at rajamanikam.com. Just use the coupon code QPT.
Worth checking out if you want to stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. That's QPT at rajamanikam.com. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into OpenAI's Codex.